welcome everyone to the Pull the Chute podcast with Jeff and Jana. We are so excited that you are here and always supporting us. I said this once before, but we're surpassing 250 episodes, Jana. I never thought that would have happened, but my goodness.
We love it. That's so great. And they've all been wonderful. Well, most all.
Most all. Yeah, periodically. So we're recording this in January, and it's cold both here and in Nashville. It's actually reached all the way down to the Sunshine State. It's kind of brutally cold right now, so that's kind of crazy. But anything else going on, Jenny? You doing good?
I'm doing good. You know, it's Friday. We record these on Thursdays and Fridays most of the time. So it's Friday. I'm looking forward to the weekend. We're going to have a cold weekend. You're going to have a weekend, and don't you have a game? You got to be
the Bears are playing on Sunday.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can pull it off one more time. Yeah. We'll see. Hey, Jenna, we have a guest today that's actually from Dubai, calling in from Bombay, India. And I'm so excited that we finally got to do this. So this is early in the morning for us, late in the evening for him. Rajesh Nagjee, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff and Jana. I'm looking forward to the 251st episode. That sounds like...
There you go.
There you go. Yeah,
good luck number.
So thank you for testing your show out for 250 people before inviting me.
There you go. That's the attitude to have.
I love it. You know, it is kind of neat though, because I mean, when Jan and I started this, you know, I started it 4 years ago. We were 3.5 years ago now. Yeah. I did it for 6 months, and I'm like, I'm boring. I need a co-host.
Especially a female with a big mouth.
I was going to say to that, but that would get me in trouble. See, that was a trap that I've learned from my wife. Don't agree with that one.
That's right. Smart woman.
But you know, I'm thrilled that we've been able to do this, and I think we get wonderful guests like you.
Yes, Rajesh, we're very excited to talk to you. Yes.
So do us a favor for our listeners and just tell them a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you're at today, and then we'll just jump right in.
So I'm going to give you the short version of the scenic route of my life. I've spent 3 different distinct lifetimes. Started out straight out of college in ancestral business, which is established in 1880. I ran the Bombay office for 12 years. I quit to pursue music, which I did for 3.5 years, took a sabbatical, and I was kind of, you know, flowing into it and played concerts around the world. I discovered that I had what it takes to be a very good amateur, but not a professional. That's when I got inspired to set up a critical care hospital, you know, and the reason why I did it is because I'm not a medical person. So what do I know about any of that stuff except putting it all together? So then I would have time to do what I wanted to do, which was practice my music. So these are the 3 different phases. It was during the hospital phase that I discovered that I had the talent to coach. So then I started very seriously engaging with, you know, people who had discovered how to apply physics to business. And so I'm now qualified in 14 different disciplines. I've spent 80,000 hours on my craft, and I've been mentoring CEOs. I've mentored so far 350 CEOs. Each engagement is between 3 to 5 years. And I have worked with 40,000 CXOs and the top team. So that's basically the whole journey so far. So I'm sure you have a question for me.
I do. Pick me.
I like you said so far. I'm like, well, that's a journey and a half already.
No kidding. That, like you said, Rajesh, you said 3 lives. You're right. This sounds like you've had, it's like 3 lives worth of stuff. My first question is, when you say you have applied physics to coaching or physics to your craft, let's talk a little bit about that, and then we can kind of dive into your, you know, sort of your policies or your protocols and all that kind of stuff, because that's interesting for Jeff and I. Always, especially when you're coaching CEOs, because they're kind of the, you know, they're the top tier. How do you apply physics to coaching?
So the simple version of that is, you know, that everything that comes out of business schools, because of these very brilliant professors who, you know, are so perceptive, they've done a lot of hard work, but 97% of them haven't run a business. So we have very brilliant business journalists, we have historians, and we have philosophers. Now, these three subjects kind of open up the curiosity about what business is and how one can approach business, but these three subjects are not designed to make business work. The only subject that is designed to make anything work is physics. So I started searching for, so the first frame or the first discipline that I discovered was the theory of constraints. And what I loved about it is that it just has a one-line philosophy. And that philosophy is that the strength of the chain is equal to the strength of its weakest link. And unless you find that weakest link and strengthen it, you're not going to be able to strengthen the chain. And every system has a weakest link. Every system has a constraint. Unless you find it, the throughput, the output, the profitability is not going to go up. So that's how I started, and there are so many other frameworks, but all of them borrow from physics.
And when you say the weakest link, Rajesh, is that, in other words, when you're talking about like building a team or building your C-suite or building the VPs that support that CEO? We're going to dive in a little bit about the CEO issue, because that's a lot of what Jeff and I's platform is with this leadership landscape. But so are you talking about sort of on all levels, from the worker bees all the way up to your mid-level to the CEO?
Well, yeah, it's across the board. Every single, if you look at a unit, if you look at a business, if you look at a division, you look at the CEO, these are all systems, and every system has a bottleneck. And it's that bottleneck that prevents throughput from happening. Now, for a CEO, the ultimate output of a CEO is to create consensus amongst all the stakeholders. Whichever way you look at it, that's all they do. They talk, they speak, they plan, they do all of that stuff. But unless they're able to create a consensus, nothing's going to move forward. And consensus forming for results in the outer game come from how the inner landscape of the CEO is built. And if there are bottlenecks in the inner landscape, it's going to create some eddies and currents, like if you put a rock in a river, and it disrupts, it slows down things, they get decisions which are not very high quality. So the bottlenecks exist in the outer game and the inner game, and unless we are able to match the velocities of the outer game and the inner game for the leaders, for the leadership team, and down the line, we are not going to be able to tap into the vast potential that every business has.
And what are some of these bottlenecks that you see, especially in today's business landscape?
So the outer game bottlenecks are, they keep on, it's like the flavor of the day kind of thing, because of all the disruptions that is happening. For example, AI being, so people who have adapted to AI, to what extent they have, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of turbulence around that. And wherever there is turbulence, there is a bottleneck. So bottleneck and turbulence go together. But that's in the outer game. In the inner game, it's something that's been constant and timeless over the last 500 years. And I believe it's going to be the same for the next 500 years. So it's about fear, doubt, anxiety, stress. All of these things rob people of their presence and being able to take very high quality decisions. So how do you get a team to really complete whatever is incomplete from the past, which keeps on interfering in their processes and how they work with each other? If I can, so my job is to help them to put the past where it belongs, and there are many processes we go through. And as they start, kind of all the baggage starts receding, they're able to engage in those, so they get debottlenecked.
Yes.
So, weakest link, bottleneck, all the same. How do you discover that? Because, you have to go group by group or area by area. Are you interviewing everyone? Or are you creating a process to see what they go through for the process? Give us a little bit of direction on that. That seems almost impossible at times if the company's too big.
It's it's very strange. It's a very simple process if one really applies the theory of constraints. So there's a context to a bottleneck. The context to a bottleneck is what is the metric that we are pursuing. So is it sale? Is it satisfaction? Is it growth? Whatever. And it's always a from to. We are at 7, we want to go to 10, for example. Whatever those numbers are, the moment that metric comes into existence, within the context of that metric, there's a bottleneck. And so what we do is we say, okay, this is what we are after. This is our subject matter. We want to grow our sales from where we are to where we want to go. And in that, what are all the undesired effects? So we start listing the undesired effects. And those undesired effects, we start triangulating using tools from the theory of constraints we are working. And then we are able to triangulate to find the specific systemic constraint. So if you think of this, so this is all kind of, it's too kind of airy-fairy to get a head around, but let's simplify it.
Yeah, simplify it.
Simplify it, thank you. So, if there's an island and there is a mainland and there is a bridge across from that island to the mainland, that bridge is a bottleneck. It's a constraint. And everybody who's living on the island and wants to go to the mainland every day to work, for example, they figured out that if I start at 7:15 in the morning, I'm going to beat the traffic. The moment it gets to 7:30, I'm going to get stuck in traffic. That's the bottleneck effect. So every single business has the same effect in what they want to go, where they want to go, and where is the narrowest part in what they're trying to do is what we want to find out and work with. What I've discovered, having worked with in the last 1.5 years with over 40 companies to help them discover what is their systemic bottleneck, and I was very surprised as I kept peeling the onion, layers and layers and layers with each of these companies, it came down to the exact same one-size-fits-all bottleneck. And that bottleneck is bottleneck basically creates, so there's a conflict in the system which creates the bottleneck, and a bottleneck creates a conflict in the system, chicken and egg. And that is that they are compelled to focus on the short-term survival, and they're also compelled to focus on long-term growth. Unfortunately, the short-term survival, cash flows, pressures take over, and they're not able to spend time in really focusing on everything that they need to focus on the long term. So what we do is we help them to carve out time, 80% focus on the short term in the here and now, 20% focus on the long term, and the balance starts to come.
So, Jenna, he just described what Pull the Chute's all about.
Yes.
So, Pull the Chute is about getting people to pull the chute, think of a parachute, quote unquote, and pause and say, okay, where do we need to adjust?
Right.
And so it's what you just described, right? The shotgun short term and the long term effects. And so we spend time with that. And I always tell people, look, it's like, when you're falling out of a plane, it's hard to breathe. One of your hands, you're spinning out of control. Everything's happening so fast, you can't see where you're at and can't see where you're going. But at 5,500 feet, you pull the chute. Suddenly you can breathe again. You're in control, see where you're at, see where you want to go. And so our goal is to get them to pull the chute, to pause, to take a breath. Feel in control.
All the time, or, regularly. Yes.
Yeah, regularly.
Regularly in their business.
Regularly. And so I'm smiling as you were describing what you were doing there. And I'm like, you're basically doing what Pull the Chute loves to do. So it's always good to know that we have fellow people that kind of believe in the same philosophy sometimes, because it's a struggle for people sometimes. And I think that's great, because what you're getting them to do is to realize, look, the here and now is great, but man, you can't just be on the hamster wheel all the time, right? Because you're not getting anywhere. You got to get on the long-term plays as well. So I love that. So thanks for sharing that.
And I love the metaphor of pulling the chute, because if you don't pull the chute, you can, as a journalist would write that here's somebody who fell. Historian would say, there are 20 of these happening every month. The philosopher will talk, these three subjects are not physics. The physics is pull the damn chute. You'll open up,
Yeah.
you'll float down.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very slow
It
down.
is good. So Rajesh, tell us a little bit about when you find in the inner game you talked about this fear, doubt, anxiety, stress. We're all living this. I mean, I think this is sort of the nature of the human as a species. You know, I've done some study on that too. We kind of live in either love or fear. That's sort of our, that's our fight, flight, or freeze mechanism taking charge. What do you recommend in your teachings or in your in your structure?
Coaching.
And in your coaching, how do you deal with the fear, the doubt, anxiety, stress? It's just so prevalent in business in general, all over the world,
So
How do you address that?
So, as you rightly said, there's fear, there's doubt, there's anxiety. And if we really sort of dive a little deeper, it's always regret of the past and anxiety of the future. And people are caught in between this. So when I started, meditating on this, and I do a lot of, whiteboard work when I'm thinking. So I just put these 3 circles that represent the past, the present, and the future. And then I said, hang on a second, animals don't have the past, the present, and future. This is a man-made conversation. So somebody had the freedom to divide time in this way and therefore generate the experience of time, which is called temporalities. How do we experience time? So I said, why don't I, create a new design? So I shifted the past a little bit to the middle and the present and the future a little bit like this. So now I've got an intersection. So with that intersection, I've got the past, the present, and the future. And the first intersection is the present and the past, and the second is the present and the future. The moment I put this up with people and then really get them to talk, whatever they're talking, and then get them to go on the board and say, okay, now put your finger on where are you standing? Are you standing in the intersection of the past and present, or are you standing in the intersection of the present and future? They begin to get that they are so consumed by everything that happened. The fears come from, we wanted to achieve 100, but we were able to achieve only 70. And how the hell are we going to achieve 130? They're standing there. They're just governed by the past. And then that freedom starts to show up the moment they go there. So look, now you can't use the same language that you used here to go there. And that's when the possibilities start to open up without going, into giving them a new language or a new sort of jargon, but just inviting them to stand there and look out and say, okay, what are the new possibilities? And there's no wrong answer. And that's where the creativity starts to come. And the fear, doubt, and anxiety starts to come down. So, and then of course we do a lot of work. There's just one framework. There are many, many frameworks that I work with. We don't have time to go on that in this little time that we have together. But I don't know whether that was some way answering your question.
Yes, it does. I think that's really interesting because I know when I was writing my book, we're the only species that can relate to past, present, and future all in the same time.
I read that book, I guess.
Does that? Yes, there you go. Yeah, it's true.
I read 2 things already, your parachute and this past present.
Yes. Yeah, it's very true. It's interesting. We're the only species that can do that all within the same minute of conversation or whatever. But I love the idea that you have to let go of the past because I think, again, by nature of who we are, just our biological wiring, we tend to sit in the past a lot, which is what brings up that anxiety.
May I just pause you for a second, Jenna? Just a second.
Yes.
So, I tried this. I tried this forever to get people to let go of the past. But when I created this visual, then I just invite them to park things. And they're so willing to park things in that place. They're not letting go of the past. They just parked it. Now they have freedom to move to the other place.
Yes, that's an excellent way to put it.
Yeah.
I always say put it in the back of your head, not in the front of your head. Let it, it's still there. That's your subconscious. We can't get rid of our subconscious, but don't focus on, let the front part of your brain and your head be moving forward. And it's the same thing that Jeff and I talk about. Pull the chute, sit there for a minute, think about, where you're going down on the ground and how you're going to maneuver that.
Right.
It's interesting. I think it is all these concepts are saying the same thing to me, and that is in order to grow, in order to, start to understand, you've got to look at where those bottlenecks are. That's great. We talk about it in a little bit different framework, but the same thing. And then you've got to plan for where, like you said, 20% of that has to be a plan for the future. 80% is present, 20% is where we're going in the future. We get so wrapped up in the day-to-day, and that's also probably something that you address, Rajesh, right? Where what do we do on a daily basis to de-stress or to understand that we have to also look to the future? Do you have some kind of protocol that you put your CEOs through?
Very simple. Confiscate 3 words: should, must, and have to. And we're done.
Say that again.
Should, must,
and have to.
Okay.
Because that's the only thing that's anchoring them at the intersection of the past and present. The moment they give that language up and they go to the other intersection of the present and future, it's a 3-for-1 trade. And that word there is works. You should be on time in the meeting versus it doesn't work for us that you're late. And the way it lands emotionally is completely different. So I'm getting them to move out of morality into workability. And workability is what physics is all about. So in a very simple way, they start, and that whole language phenomena starts to shift how they are relating to themselves in the inner dialogue. Just with a simple, give up should, must, and have to, work with works, go finish everything you want to finish, speaking about, ranting about, whining about, bitching about, at the intersection of the past and present, put it all there. If you want sticky notes, all of that stuff, then physically move to this place, start afresh with just one word, what works and what doesn't work. It's a very simple way to get them going.
So how do this happens a lot because of the past and the present and the future, is this whole imposter syndrome, right? Where they feel like, why am I here? Do I have enough, whatever it takes to be here? And the past keeps saying, no, you're not good enough. But at the present, we want them to say, yes, you deserve to be here. How do you get them past that?
Well, see, the point is, the real question beneath the question that you put out there is, who has the remote control of their life? Do they have the remote control of their life, or do circumstances have the remote control of their life? And because of this, putting this very neat, visual in front of them, they now start taking charge of all their issues by parking some of the stuff there and some of the stuff there. That's all they need. They need a little space to think differently. So my job is not to give them answers. My job is to just keep asking them, hey, where are you standing? What's going on? I don't have answers.
Yeah, that's a great coach, because I mean, a lot of times the client is looking at the coach and saying, tell me what to do.
Exactly.
And we don't want to do that. We want them to figure out what to do. And this is how they learn to figure out going forward what to do. Right? Because we're not always going to be there.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
and I start my engagement with some funny conversations. I tell them, listen, my target audience are people who don't need me. Number one. Number two, because they don't need me, I bring nothing to the table. I don't have advice, I've got nothing. Number three, if you ask me a question, I don't have the answer. And number four, I'm the coach of last resort. You try everything else out, and then you come to me, and I guarantee you that we get the job done. And now there's FOMO on one side, there's intrigue on the other side, and then all I'm doing is listening. And then I add one more, which I learned a few years back, is to tell them, listen, there is something called a pay grade. So if you come to me with something which is above my pay grade, I'm going to tell you this is above my pay grade. So, and we have a ball with them.
Oh, that's great.
So the point is, the more playful I make this issue, I get to live my purpose. The purpose of my life is to make friends, have fun, be playful, make memories. is the baby Yoda.
Yes.
Yeah. What do I know about your business? I work across 60 different industries.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, people always say, "What's your vertical?" And I go, "Doesn't matter."
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, exactly. It does not
Exactly.
matter.
On.
That's right.
It's very difficult to explain this to people. Today I'm able to do it because my practice is full. There's a waiting list. Because of that,
Yes.
I'm able to kind of talk like this and have a call. This is my boy.
great.
He was 4 years old and he's 26, and I'm trying to become him more and more and more. So that's me in the present, and that's me in the future.
I love
that's great.
it.
Love it.
That's a great one. That's great.
But we got to wrap things up here. Rajesh, thank you so much for your insight, your wisdom.
Yes.
Love it. I'm hoping the listeners loved it as well. If people want to get a hold of you, even though they're on a waiting list, how can they do that?
Well, they can look at the link that is there below. It's Rajesh at rajeshnagji.com. And the best is to follow me on LinkedIn, on my name. There we are. And then we can connect. And I like to make friends. I respond. I might take a day or so, but I'm very friendly. I'm very approachable. Right there, I love to talk to you.
Yeah, that's great.
Great.
Love it, love it, love it. Jan, any final words?
No, I think this has been great. I love that he applies, again, simple concepts to physics. And again, it's all simple. These are all wonderful and simple, but they work. They work in physics, they work in however you want to verbalize it, whatever semantic you use. But yeah, it's great.
Business people love complexity.
Yeah, they do.
So my job is let's play business.
Yeah. There you go.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Open your parachute, let's business.
There you go. Love it.
That's good.
Thank you very much.
Tell
I
us
really
this-
enjoyed being with you, Jeff, and Jenna.
Yes.
We did too. So
That was great.
and to our listeners out there, we hope that you enjoyed today's podcast as much as we did. It was really great. If you ever need coaching, leadership development coaching, Jenna and I are here for you. Jenna at janalandry.com, Jeff at pullthechute.net. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Until the next time, folks, stay safe and be healthy.
Recording stop.